Today's video, this versus that. These are two older cameras that I've done reviews on in the past, last year. Now I'm going to compare the both of them and see what the difference is between these two small premium compacts. Let's get started. Now both of these cameras were released in 2012, the Samsung in July and the Olympus in September. Now the Samsung is the EX2F and the Olympus is the XZ2. Now a few common similarities between these two cameras. Both of them 12 megapixels, both of them have the same sensor in them, a 1/1.7 inch sensor, which is 7.44 millimeters by 5.58 millimeters in dimensions. Tiny sensors in today's market, but at the time they were marketed as premium compact cameras. Now, both of them have contrast-based autofocus in them, so they're very similar in that respect. They both shoot Full HD 30 frames per second and the H.264 profile, and both of them have a PSAM dial or PASM dial on them. As you can see, they're very similar size, they're very similar sort of weight as well. Now a few advantages of the Samsung EX2F as opposed to the Olympus. This one here has a wider aperture at the wide end of the zoom range, which is 24 millimeters, and it goes to f2.7 at the long end of the range, and that only goes to 80 mil, as opposed to the Olympus, which is 28 to 112 millimeters and f1.8 to f2.5 the long end. Now this Samsung has a fully articulating screen, so you can do selfies with it, film yourself with it if you want. So in that respect, for videographers or for people who want to take selfies, it's ideal. Now this little Samsung has a BSI sensor, backside illuminator sensor, for better light gathering and more faster processing speed. Now another advantage of this Samsung over the Olympus is that it has another dedicated dial on here, which has the self timer, has bracketing mode on it, and it also has the different burst shooting modes on it. And both of them have a pop-up flash and a hot shoe to attach accessories onto. So they're both very capable little compact cameras. So one of the advantages of this little Olympus camera is that it has a longer zoom range to 112 millimeters at the long end, whereas the Samsung only tops out at 80 millimeters. But it's not as wide, it starts at 28 as opposed to the Samsung, which starts at 24. Now for you photographers, you might like that this is just a flip up and down screen. So it flips down to that angle, flips up to 90 degrees. So for photographers who want a direct line of sight over the lens, it's better for that. A lot of photographers like that. Some photographers, like myself, I actually prefer the fully articulating screen, because you can get down much better angles, especially when you're on portrait mode. I can't flip the screen out this way, whereas I can only flip it that way, which is not as useful. Another advantage of this one is there's a dial around the lens which controls the aperture. So if you want to quickly control your aperture, you can quickly control it with that dial, which is quite handy. And it has, another one is it has a touch screen, so you can turn, I don't know if you can see the little button there on the screen, turn it on to touch. I'll get my hand out of the way, might help. You can hear that. It activates the AF, and if you touch it again, touch to AF and take a photo. And you can turn that off completely so you don't bump the settings. But it is only touchscreen for AF and for taking a photo. It's not touchscreen in the menus, which is a shame. Also, another advantage of this one is it has a dedicated switch for manual focusing. There's a little switch here to switch it onto manual focus, and then you can use that dial to change your focus. And it also has a button in the middle which brings up another menu. So you press the button on, press this little button on that dial, on that lever, and you get some different menus pop up on the bottom of the screen there. So you can access different things, which is quite handy. It also has, on this function 1 button, press that and up the top you see ND. The ND come on. So it has an internal ND filter just like the Samsung, but the Samsung one is buried in the menu. This one has it set to this function 1 button, so you can access it quite quickly, which is pretty cool. Now the measurements and weights of these two little cameras. The Samsung, 294 grams. The Olympus, 346 grams. Width, 112 for the Samsung. The Olympus is 113 mils. So pretty much the same width anyway. 1 millimeter, who's going to worry about 1 millimeter? Height wise, Samsung 62, Olympus 70. The depth of it, with the lens cap on, of the Samsung is 50 millimeters and the Olympus 51 millimeters. So nothing much in it really. 8 millimeters in the height and a millimeter or two on the width and the depth, neither here nor there. Now the batteries on both of these cameras charge via a cable internally in the camera, which is quite handy if you're out and about driving around. You can charge it with a power bank anytime you want. So yes, that's quite a handy feature, as in most cameras, modern cameras nowadays, you can charge in camera. So it helps if you've got a power bank and you're traveling from one destination to another, you can just plug it into a power bank and away you go. I don't know if they have dedicated chargers for them. These I bought second hand. They didn't have dedicated chargers with them, so that's all I use is just a cable to plug into them. So that's about it for just the straight comparison between the two different cameras in terms of the size and some of the features. There are a lot of other features that are different with them, but so now I'm going to put up on screen some of the images that I've taken with these two cameras, some of the images and the videos I've done with them as well. So there's some that are going to be pretty much the same shot and some that are going to be very, very similar. So I'll put them up on screen now. You can have a look and see what you think of both of these little cameras. what did you think of those images and the videos from both those sort of cameras? Personally, I think they're very, very similar. I mean, there's not much difference between the image quality of both of these, especially when they've got the same sensor, pretty much the same sensor. One's backside illuminated, one's not. But they're both 12 megapixels, both same size, same resolution, from the same year, very similar apertures, very similar zoom ranges, very similar features on both these cameras. It just depends on your preference as to what you like. Olympus colours, Samsung colours. Personally, I like the Olympus colours a little bit better. Maybe it's just me coming from having owned Olympus cameras before. I just much more prefer the colours in this camera. The amount of control you got over the image as well, with the highlights and shadow control you've got in this as well. That's another good feature to have in this. They both handle very similar. The Samsung's got a little dial on the front as well, and you can push the button in. I can't remember what exactly it does now because it's been about a year since I've actually used it. They've just been sitting in my humidity cabinet, just taking up room really. So I've decided to sell both of these. This one, Samsung, is already sold. It's going to be picked up in the next couple of days. So yeah, hopefully the new owner gets a lot of use out of it and loves the camera as much as I have loved it. Loved using it. But it's time to move on and let somebody else have some use out of this, because it's done, I think, from the file in it. I tried to get the shutter count in it, but I couldn't find any information on how to do it. But anyway, it's only like 3,500 shutter clicks in this. It's just like almost like new again, you know. So, but this Olympus is very similar. It hasn't had a lot of use. Very, very good condition. Pop-up flash in that one. Yeah. Well, I hope you liked that review or comparison between two premium compacts from 2012. I will be posting more videos with some older cameras. I have a Canon G1X and a Olympus E520 DSLR from before 2012. I think it was 2008, 2009, somewhere like that Olympus came out. But anyway, they'll be coming up soon on the channel, so make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and post your comments down below. I'm sure there'll be some questions on either of these cameras or future cameras that I'm going to review. So yeah, with that, I'll say goodbye and thank you all for watching. I'll see you again next time. Bye bye.